Feel the power of your determination taking control of your breathing. Feel the power of your presence, your gift, right now in this moment. Now think about you doing your best today on all the exercises we do together in the gym of life. See, we are so powerful, we get to think, create, imagine in our minds, and make real in the world. And that goes with everything. The way we do our exercises to the best of our ability is the same way we can do anything to the best of our ability. Alright, good morning, determination. How's everyone today? Here we are again, another day in the gym of life. Again, circumstances may not be ideal. Perhaps this is not exactly where we want to be right now, but we're going to make the best of it. So let's do this together. Here we go. When I say go, we're going to start jogging on the spot. Or if you want, you can simply do your best walk on the spot. Okay, here we go together. And go. Always doing our best with whatever we got, whatever we've been given. The gym of life is everywhere, never ends. Wherever you are, whatever you're doing, whatever your situation is, if you're here right now watching this video, we are together, we are united, mind and body. Alright, let's feel that body warming up, the blood starting to flow. Keep going, almost there. And stop. Alright. Walking back and forth, side to side, within the space that you have, or simply walking on the spot if that's all the space you have. Again, feel the power of you regaining control of your breathing. Showing your body who's boss. Showing your mind who's boss. The way we take control of that breathing, same way we can take control of our lives. One breath at a time, one thought at a time. Alright everyone, let's do some shoulder rolls. Here we go. Shoulder rolls, 10 forward. And backwards. Once again, feel the pure joy of you, your presence, your being, right here, right now. Feel the gratitude that you can show for being able to move your body. Alright, arm circles forward, 10 forward. And backwards. Okay, hands on our hips, bend our knees, and let's side stretch. 5 on each side. Keep those knees bent. Alright, and let's twist our bodies. 5 on each side again. Feet flat on the floor. Just twisting our hips. Alright, let's do 5 push-ups, everyone. That's 5 push-ups. Here we go. If you gotta keep your knees down on the ground, you can do that. Okay, 5 sit-ups. Alright, let's do 5 squats. Here we go. Best 5 squats ever. All the way down, all the way up. Good. All right, let's do lunges. 3 on each side. Arms out. Okay, let's do 10-second planks. Belly's knees off the ground. Alright, good everyone, excellent. And stand up. And let's reach for the ceiling or the sky, wherever we are. Here we go. On your toes. Hold it for 10 seconds. Feel the power of you reaching. Doing your best, no matter what. Alright. And let's reach for our toes, straight knees. Again, it's okay if you don't touch your toes, just reach. Safely, without hurting yourself. You should just feel a pull. You shouldn't feel pain. Okay, come on back up. And let's work on our balance. Grab one leg. Find that balance. Bend the other knee if you have to. And pull back your heel towards your bottom. Pull that thigh back. Hold it for 10 seconds. Feel the power of you finding your balance right now. And switch. The other one. Feel the power of all of us together in this moment, united, doing our best together on these stretches and exercises. Alright, and switch. This time hug your knee, the other side. And work hard to find that balance. Think about what you're doing. Hold it there for 10 seconds. Okay, and switch. The other one. Again, bend the other knee as you pull one up and hug the one knee. Okay, good. All right, and let's sit down.
Feel the magic in the air. Magic System, Red One, Shetty. Comme d'habitude on est calé, comme toujours ça va aller. On te met l'ambiance à gogo, tous ensemble on fait le show.
On t'invite à la magie, y a pas de raccourci. Oublie tes soucis, c'est bien faire la folie.
On t'invite à la magie, y a pas de raccourci. Oublie tes soucis. Oh, 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 oh. C'est pas seulement pour les bobos, nous mambo. Mon ami, si tu as le niveau, rejoins-nous pour t'enjailler.
On t'invite à la magie, y a pas de raccourci. Oublie tes soucis et viens faire la folie.
On t'invite à la magie, y a pas de raccourci. Oublie tes soucis. Oh, 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 oh. Ah ouais, Magic System.
Toujours nous.
Ah, ça change pas.
Ah ouais.
Ah, Shawky avec Red One. Est-ce que ça marche? Ça va pas. On vient du ghetto pour aller plus haut. Avec les magiciens, c'est le ready go. On vient du ghetto pour aller plus haut. Avec les magiciens. Oh, oh, oh.
Good morning, guys. When I look at my life and when I think and feel how I am right now, the path of mind wealth that I'm on, just how happy, how free, how peaceful I feel right now, I want everybody in the world to feel the happiness I feel right now within me. But I always think, how on earth is it possible that I got to this point when I look at the challenges and struggles I faced in my life? And I know they're nothing compared to some of the ones you might be going through or other people have gone through. But the key is this: embrace the struggle. That's the key. Whatever challenge you're going through, whatever stress, whatever anxiety, understand that there's a reason it's going after you. Don't fight it. Let it come in. Don't be destroyed by it. Fight it, but know that it's there, but seeking you because you are a miracle. You are 1 in 400 trillion. It wants you because it's going to help improve you. Have a great day, everybody.
A tree doesn't grow where it's hard and thick, does it? It grows where it's soft and green and vulnerable. So vulnerability is absolutely essential for growth. And for vulnerability, you gotta let go of those defenses, such as
best-selling author and host.
The #1 health and wellness podcast.
On Purpose with Jay Shetty.
Hey everyone, welcome back to On Purpose, the #1 health podcast in the world. Thanks to each and every one of you that come back every week to listen, learn, and grow. Now, I know that if you're listening right now, you're here because you want to improve your mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual well-being. I know that you're trying to heal from trauma, from stress, from pressure. You're trying to heal challenges you experienced early in childhood or ones that you're going through today. And it's my job and it's my duty and it's my honor and joy to introduce you to incredible people that I believe have answers, have insights, have helpful approaches to navigating the challenges we all experience. And today's guest is someone I have been so excited to speak to for a long time on Purpose. I hope this is not just his only time on the show. I hope this starts to become a regular guest on the show. I'm talking about none other than Dr. Gabore Mate, who's a celebrated speaker and best-selling author. He's highly sought after for his expertise on a range of topics such as addiction, stress, and childhood development. Dr. Mate has written several best-selling books, including the award-winning In the Realm of Hungry Ghosts, Close Encounters with Addiction, When the Body Says No, The Cost of Hidden Stress, and Scattered Minds, The Origins and Healing of Attention Deficit Disorder. Now, today we're talking about his new book called The Myth of Normal: Trauma, Illness, and Healing in a Toxic Culture. And we have the link to this in the notes. I want you to go and order this book right now. It is going to blow your mind. The insights of this individual about what we're going through as a culture and a society are going to be really powerful. So the book is called The Myth of Normal: Trauma, Illness, and Healing in a Toxic Culture. Please welcome to the show, Dr. Gabore Mate. Thank you so much for being here.
Well, it's such a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
I love sitting down with people who are deeply immersed and obsessed with ideas and observing human behavior. I admire obsession deeply and admiration deeply, and I admire the ability to sit with something for a long enough time. But I want to start off broad and I want to move in deeper. And I think this is a question that me and my friends often talk about. I think we hear the word trauma more often these days.
Yes.
It's thrown around sometimes. Sometimes it's used effectively. Sometimes it's used in conversation around things that some people would perceive as small and insignificant. Sometimes it's used to describe life-defining things. In your words, how would you describe trauma? And why is it so misunderstood, even though it's so widespread?
It's a deep question because, on the one hand, trauma is sometimes used somewhat loosely and promiscuously to refer to things that are not traumatic. So people will have a difficult experience and say, I was traumatized. No, they weren't. They just had a difficult experience. And as one of my colleagues points out, all trauma is stressful, but not every stress is traumatic. So sometimes people use the word to refer to difficult experiences, which is not the same as being traumatized. And on the other hand, where it really matters, which is in the area of health that you and I are both concerned in, whether it's physical or mental health, trauma is not understood nearly enough or used nearly enough. So that, to my mind, a lot of conditions of mind and body are actually very much trauma-related without the healing profession, particularly the medical profession, actually recognizing it. So trauma then it comes from the Greek word for wounding. Trauma is a wound. It's a psychic wound that leaves a scar, it leaves an imprint in your nervous system, in your body, in your psyche, and then shows up in multiple ways that are not helpful to you later on. So in its basic sense, trauma is a psychic wound. And if you look at the nature of a wound, on the one hand, if it's raw and open, it really hurts. So when somebody touches that wound that you sustained a long time ago, but it hasn't healed yet, you'll react like you're just being tormented all over again. This happens in relationships all the time. On the other hand, wounds scar over, and the scar tissue has certain features. It's very hard, it's rigid, so it's not flexible. So people tend to be rigid when they're traumatized. It also doesn't grow. So trauma very often stops emotional growth and development. So on the one hand, it's very raw and painful. On the other hand, it's even lacks sensation because scar tissue doesn't have nerve endings in it. So trauma then, just to finish, is not what happened to you. So trauma is not the difficult incidents, like trauma is not the war. It's not in my case, the Second World War when I was born or what happened to me. Trauma is not the abuse that people experience. Trauma is not the pain that they felt. Trauma is the wound that they sustained as a result. So the trauma wasn't, for example, the sexual abuse. Trauma was the wound that the person sustained as a result of having been abused. That's the good news, Jay, because if trauma is the wound that we sustained, it can be healed at any time. If trauma is what happened to me 75 years ago or 78 years ago, it happened. It never not will have happened. You know, the partition of India wounded a lot of people, but it'll never not have happened. But if the wound is what happened to people inside as the result, that can be healed.
That's probably the best differentiator that I've heard. And you're right, it is good news because it means we can heal it.
Exactly.
What do you think are the biggest, going the opposite way, we're talking about a wound, and I want to come back to that, but going the opposite way, how would you then define healing? Because that's another word like trauma that is also just everywhere now, right? Self-healing, healing from this, healing from that. I think healing is such a interesting concept in and of itself, which again is rarely defined or made clear to us. And from your studies, I would love to hear your thoughts in the same ways you did for trauma. What is healing?
Sure. So you mentioned to me that you spent some time in my homeland of Hungary, where I was born. And the Hungarian word for health actually begins with the word for wholeness. So health literally means wholeness. And the English word for healing and health also come from an Anglo-Saxon origin, meaning wholeness. So for some reason, languages internationally have intuited the sense of healing, which is a sense of completion and wholeness. Now, what trauma does is it disconnects us. It splits us off from our true self and disconnects us from our emotions, even from our bodies. So that if that disconnection is the essence of trauma, then the healing is that coming together of the self to become whole again. And healing is often used synonymously with cure, fair enough, but strangely enough, in my view, and not just in my view, people can be cured from an illness without becoming whole, without healing. People sometimes also become healed without being cured. So in that sense, healing is not the absence of a physical illness, but it's the integrity of a person who's no longer split off from themselves.
I think what we find is that trauma is so, as you said, a wound that is long lasting. It can often be that way.
Yeah.
But healing is a process that we want to happen now.
Yeah.
Or today.
Yeah.
Or tomorrow.
Yeah.
I'm intrigued by how does time, we've always heard time will heal, right? Like that's an old cliche.
It won't.
Yeah, right. So let's go back to the wound and talk about, is there any relationship between time and wounds or unhealed wounds? And what is that relationship? How is that wound being formed internally? As you said, trauma is not what happens to you, it's what happens inside of you. That which is happening inside of you, what is happening with that wound over time when it's left?
What happens is that it may lie dormant for a long time, and then something occurs that touches it. It's when we talk about people being triggered, for example. Something touches an unhealed wound inside you, and you react. You've just been wounded for the first time. And certainly, I can tell you that's been the case for me. For example, in my marriage relationship, is that the unhealed wounds, you may think you've gone past them, but then something will happen that touches that wound, and you react like you're being tormented all over again for the first time. And time does not automatically heal.
Mm-hmm.
Time maybe scars it over, time maybe makes it less available to immediate memory, but should something happen to evoke it, it's going to show up in its full painful impact until you do some work to heal. Time by itself does not heal, not spontaneously, not automatically.
How do we uncover those? Because I feel that, and maybe this is something to address, it's that, at least what I find is that a lot of our beliefs that we have about ourselves and about others are wired to try and make us feel safe to some degree. So I believe, and I'm hypothetically saying this, I believe that I am right in my opinion because that makes me feel safe and secure. But often to unearth a wound, we have to be okay with the vulnerability of saying, well, maybe I'm not right. Maybe this response is coming from some wound that I gained in the past. So for example, when you were speaking about your marriage, you sparked something for me. I found that a lot of the love I received when I was younger was then followed by guilt. So when I received love when I was younger, the idea was if I couldn't reciprocate with that level of love, I'd be made to feel guilty that I didn't love someone enough. And I found that I would repeat that in my own relationship with my wife, where I would overlove. And if she didn't match that level of love, I would then make her feel guilty. And it took me years to really discover that pattern. And that's just one tiny pattern. And whether that's trauma or a difficult experience is a different conversation. But the idea that spotting that pattern only came from me saying, well, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe me wanting to make someone feel guilty is not the right thing. How do we assess that? How do we gain the vulnerability in safety to create that future stability? Does that make sense?
Well, it makes absolute sense because vulnerability itself is absolutely essential for growth. So vulnerability, the word itself comes from the Latin word vulnerare, to wound. So vulnerability is our capacity to be wounded. Now, the reality is that as human beings, we're all vulnerable from conception until death. But
Let's do our V-shaped stretch by reaching for the floor as far away from your body as you can. Hold it for 10. And reach for one side. Hold it there. And switch to the other side. Okay, feet together and gently push your knees down with your elbows. Hold it there. Again, enjoy fully the process of what we're doing. Working on our bodies and working on our minds. In every stretch, every movement, every thought. Okay, one leg forward, one leg back. Keep the knee on the ground, go as far back as you can. And switch, other side. As far back as you can, hold that knee down. Always reach. Going for a little bit more than you did last time. Alright, okay, and legs crossed. Actually, before we do that, let's roll onto our bellies. And let's push the floor and look up at the sky or ceiling. Hold it for 10. Here we go. Alright, and now legs crossed, back straight, eyes closed. Focused on our breathing. Tapping into that power. That power to see first in your mind what you want to bring out into the world. That's our determination, our greatest power ever. Always available to us. So right now I'm going to see myself doing the best I can to hold the plank position for one song, and then the best I can to hold my side plank positions for the rest of the other song. 2 songs today for me. What about you? What are you going to see in your mind? What exercise are you going to visualize right now? You know, visualize yourself doing your best dance, your best jog, your best squats, your best sit-ups, your best jumping jacks, whatever it is. See it in your mind right now before you bring it out into the world. Okay, here I go. Plank position. Holding it as long as I can. Here we go. What about you? What are you working on right now? Whatever you're doing, do it to the best of your ability and feel the joy. Feel the power of you loving what you're doing right now. That's why I love the gym of life. It goes wherever we go. Whether we're at school, whether we're at work, at home, we have that power. We have that power to control our minds, to do our best on whatever it is we're doing. Whether it's a plank, whether it's sitting down, your legs crossed, your back straight, meditating, whether it's reading a book, whether it's being your best and kind to your friends, your family, do it with everything you got, with every part of your being. You were born to do that. No matter what's going on around you, you control what goes on inside your mind, and therefore what goes on in your body. Always remember your breathing. Always breathe. I love the joy of feeling that moment when it comes, when my body wants to quit, when the discomfort is getting to be too much. And then I stand in that space, and I get to determine. I get to choose. I get to make the winning choice. That's determination. To keep going as much as I can, a little bit more than last time. I feel my muscles achy, trembling. But I get to choose. Well, I get to determine. I get to make the winning choice of not giving up, no matter what. And if I do choose and lose, I give up, I get to come back again and again, every single time. It's the same power you have. We all have. No matter what. Alrighty. Proud of my effort there. Next song.
Gonna do the two-step, then cowboy boogie. Grab a sweetheart and spin out with him. Do the hold down and get into it. Take it to the left now and dip with it. Don't throw down, take a sip with it. Now lean back, put your hips in it. Let's have some fun. To the left now. To the right. Now take your left hand and put it on your side. Gon' roll your shoulders, do the slip and slide. This next part's my favorite part, cause it's time to shine. Gonna do the two-step, then cowboy boogie. Grab a sweetheart and spin out with him. Do the hold down and get into it. Take it to the left now and dip with it. Don't throw down, take a sip with it. Now lean back, put your hips in it. It's simple, you can do it. Slide to the left, slide to the right. Now cool down, have a good time. Slide to the left, slide to the right. Do the butterfly, have a good time. Round, round, round and round you go. It's time to show out right now and take to the floor. Gonna do the two-step, then cowboy boogie. Grab a sweetheart and spin out with him. Do the hold down and get into it. Take it to the left now. Don't throw down, take a sip with it. Now lean back, put your hips in it. Take it down now, take it down now. Take it down now, take it down now. Bring it up now, bring it up now. Bring it up now, bring it up now. Take it down and crisscross. Bring it up now, crisscross. Do whatever you like right here. Just have fun. Gonna do the two-step, then cowboy boogie. Grab a sweetheart and spin out with him. Do the hold down and get into it. Take it to the left now and dip with it. Don't throw down, take a sip with it. Now lean back, put your hips in it. That was not so bad. That was not so bad, was it? That was not so bad. That was not so bad, was it? That was not so bad. That was not so bad, was it? That was not so bad. That was not so bad, was it? Gonna do the two-step, then cowboy boogie. Grab a sweetheart and spin out with him. Do the hold down and get into it. Take it to the left now and dip with it. Don't throw down, take a sip with it. Now lean back, put your hips in it.
What? No mistaking that one from Lee.
Morning, guys. It's amazing to me how some of the things in life connect to economics and connect to the way we live. So today in our top 10 rules for success, Robert Kiyosaki shares his rule, his fifth rule, which is hard times bring opportunities. And this is so true. And again, it fits with what we're trying to build here. We're trying to build infinite mind wealth. That's our true destiny. And it's amazing when we look at the way we handle our money, the way we think about money. You know, Robert Kiyosaki today talks about how times of depression, economic depression, bring opportunities, but most people don't look at it that way. We get scared, we let fear to kick in, and we lose out opportunities. You know, so that kind of thinking is the same in life. Your hardest times will bring your greatest opportunities, but it's a choice you make to not let fear stop you. I hope this helps everyone. Have a great day.
But when we're hurt in childhood and the vulnerability is too painful to bear, we will try and shut down our vulnerability. And for example, by being right. Because if I'm right, then I'm powerful and I can't be assailed anymore, you know? But when we do that, we stop growing. Everything in nature grows only where it's vulnerable. So a crustacean animal like a crab inside a hard shell, it can't grow. It has to molt and make itself very vulnerable to be able to grow. A tree doesn't grow where it's hard and thick, does it? It grows where it's soft and green and vulnerable. So vulnerability is absolutely essential for growth. And for vulnerability, you gotta let go of those defenses, such as being right, that you developed as a child in order to protect yourself from the pain. So that's why we talk about growing pains, because vulnerability is necessary for growth. Without vulnerability, there is no growth.
Wow, what you just said, that is so beautiful. You just said vulnerability is our capacity to be wounded.
That's what it means, literally.
Yeah, that's an incredible definition of the word. I think we hear so many definitions of vulnerability, but that vulnerability, I'm just going to say that again. Everyone write that down. Vulnerability is our capacity to be wounded. How do we develop our capacity? So actually, let's go back to childhood. We'll come back to that. So if we go to childhood, what are the things happening currently that you perceive? And I know you talk about this in your new book, The Myth of Normal. By the way, everything we're talking about is in this incredible book, The Myth of Normal, Trauma, Illness, and Healing in a Toxic Culture. If you don't have it, please go and order it now. What is happening in our childhood, in society? I guess when you say things are not happening to us, there are still environmental impacts that are imprinting the potential for this wound to grow. What are some of those things that are distorting our development in unhealthy ways in childhood?
There are two things. One is obvious, like when children are mistreated, maltreated, abused, sexually, physically, emotionally, when there's violence in the family, or a parent is caught up in addiction, or where there's a rancorous divorce and a lot of conflict in the home, children are just wounded, period. But it's more insidious and more ubiquitous than that. because children have certain basic needs. Now, if you want to understand a zebra or a whale, where would you study those creatures? In a zoo or an aquarium or out there in nature? Same with human beings. So you have to actually look at what are the evolutionary determined needs of human beings as inculcated or instilled in us through our evolutionary history. And so we evolved with certain needs. There used to be this belief that children are what are called a tabula rasa, an empty slate. You can just write whatever you want on it, program the child in any way you want. That used to be the prevailing belief. It's not true. Children are born with not only just certain needs, but certain inherent expectations. So, to give an example, your lungs are an inherent expectation for oxygen because they've developed in response to oxygen. If there'd be no oxygen in the environment, we'd have no lungs. In the same way with the human child, it has certain inherent expectations. And you can wound kids not just by maltreating them, but by not meeting those expectations. When I say expectation, I don't mean a conscious expectation. I mean an expectation inherent in the organism. So children need unconditional loving acceptance by multiple adult caregivers, which is how we evolved in hunter-gatherer groups and lived that way for millions and hundreds of thousands of years. Children have a need not to have to work to make the relationship with the parents work. So children need rest from having to struggle to make the relationship functional. So they don't have to be pretty or cute or compliant or clever or successful or any of that stuff. They just need to be, and they don't have to work at getting the parents to accept them. That's an essential need of the child. When I say essential, I mean if it's not met, that'll distort child development. The third need is really crucial, and in our society, it's hardly ever met, which is the child needs the freedom to experience all the emotions that nature has endowed her or him with. So we have certain brain circuits for anger, for love, for play, for lust, for seeking, curiosity. All these circuits are there for a reason. We share them with other animals. We share them with bear cubs and puppies and little whales, elephants. They need to develop because they're there for a reason. Evolution gave it to us. In our society, parents are often advised and taught to suppress certain emotional experiences for the child. That's a wound to the child, which distorts that development and has significant implications for health later on. The fourth essential need is free play out in nature. Free play, spontaneous, creative, imaginative play. That's essential for healthy brain development. We share that with other animals. Baby elephants play, bear cubs play, puppies play, lion cubs play. Crucial play for brain development. We know that now. In our society, we put cognitive development way ahead of play, and we deprive our children of play by giving them gadgets, which deprives them of their imagination. So we're actually undermining their brain development and their healthy unfolding as human beings. So children can be wounded not just by bad things happening to them, but by their needs not being met. And in our society, we ask about the environmental conditions that undermine health and child development. These environmental conditions in our society are inimical to healthy human unfoldment. No wonder we are seeing children in trouble with anxiety and ADHD and depression. The rate of child suicide is going up, and the number of kids being medicated with heavy medications, multiplicity of medications, is going up. Why? Because the conditions of development are less available to them. Not because parents don't love their kids, not because they're not trying to do their best, but because of the conditions under which parenting takes place in the society.
Yeah, just to share some of those stats that are in the book that Dr. Matej is referring to. We have in 2019 more than 50 million Americans, over 20% of the US adults suffered an episode of mental illness. Rates of obesity, along with the multiple health risks it possesses, are going up in many countries, including Canada, Australia, and notably the United States, where over 30% of the adult population reach the criteria. And then this part, millions of North American children and youths are being medicated with stimulants, antidepressants, and even antipsychotic drugs, whose long-term effects on the developing brain are yet to be established. So you share all these insights and research and work. What I'm interested by is, let's say a child today is raised in that way. I find it fascinating that if you then migrate that child into the real world, and for everyone who's listening, I'm doing my quotation marks, like real world, they walk into this conditioned world that we currently have. If we almost raise a village of children in a I don't know what the right word is, but I guess in a more natural way. But then they evolved and had to get a job and work in the world. How would they function? What would be your take on how they would do? Is there any research on that? Or what would be your thoughts about how they would deal with the then capitalist society that is drilled around results and performance and being beautiful or smart or cute? How would they react to that?
That question is actually studied to some degree, and they would not automatically buy into the values. So they may need to get a job, but they wouldn't identify themselves as a job, and they wouldn't judge themselves based on the external values of success. They would also enter the world with a sense of purpose. And I know purpose is very important to you. So a sense of purpose can only arise from us if we're in touch with our real selves. So they would be in the world, but they wouldn't be of the world in a sense. They wouldn't identify themselves with the values that society would push on them. So I think they would struggle, but they would do reasonably well, and they'd hold on to themselves in the process. They would live a life that's based on what other people think about me. Am I pretty enough? Do they find me attractive? Have I collected enough goods and objects to make me feel okay about myself? They wouldn't buy into all that. And to the extent that it's been studied, and it has been, those people that can be in this society without buying into its values tend to be healthier and more grounded emotionally.
The reason why I love hearing that is because it's the first time I've connected these ideas together. That when I was born and raised in London, I was born and raised with all the usual pursuits, i.e. a good education, a good home, a good financial situation, etc. Those were the ways I was raised, and success was a big part of my culture.
Yeah.
And I chased the validation of my family and the external surroundings and my community and what my aunts and uncles thought of me. And when that validation was dissatisfying or didn't feel like it was actually coming my way, and when I was finally introduced to the monks at 18, I then seek the validation of the monks, only for them to teach me that the issue wasn't who you seek validation from, the issue was seeking validation in the first place. And so what you just said to me is, in 3 years, I got a crash course in what you're saying, where we spent more time in nature.
Yeah.
We were trained in unlearning the behaviors and habits that I developed for 21 years at the time.
Yeah.
And then when I came back into the world, the way you just described that is exactly how I felt. Like I almost felt like a new person coming back into the same world that I left, with a completely different approach and a different map of how to navigate it. And you're spot on. It's still hard. It's not that it's perfect and it's easy. And it's not that I've got it right. It's just that when I am challenged, I have a toolkit, or I have some ideas, as you said, with purpose, that help me think about the problem differently. You're not governed by the same thing. So when I went into the world of work, and I just want to give people a practical example of what Dr. Mate is saying is spot on. When I went into the world of work, we were all told that we had to be good at a list of like 10 things in order to succeed.
Yeah.
And I looked at that list of 10 and I was like, I can do one of those things really well. And I'm only going to focus on that one, because these other 9 are not my nature. They're not my purpose. And it's so strange, because that one thing made me extremely successful at the company I worked at, and then has become how I built my career. And it's so true that had I gone in and done what 90% of people did, I would have become what 90% of people are doing. That really deeply resonates. What is the difference though with, and I can't wait to read some of that research on that. I think that's fascinating. When you have a culture where I think most people who read this book today, The Myth of Normal, will say that they can relate to having trauma, illness, and trying to be on the path of healing, especially our community here. They absolutely love this book. This is exactly why we have this show. But I find that we would all agree. I think if I asked everyone to put up their hands and say, how many people feel they experienced a traumatic environment at home? I think most people would raise their hands. If I asked how many people felt when they were children that they had unhealthy relationships with their parents to some degree, I think most people would put their hand up.
Yeah.
The challenge I find is that I really feel with what you're saying with the book, there's a difference between what you're saying and then the other extreme, which is mollycoddling. So there's neglect and then there's mollycoddling. And I find that as humans, our brains are wired for extremes. So if we've seen that being mistreated or neglected is really bad for us, we go the opposite way and we go, okay, now I'm going to make sure that this kid has like 24 cushions around it.
I'd be curious to know. I like to answer that question. It's a very important one. But like,
I'm going to hold the side plank position for one side and then side planks for the other side. So we're going to hold it. How about you? You proud of your effort so far? Keep going, everybody. Keep going. Keep moving. Moving is winning. Doing our best is winning. Wherever we are, whatever we're doing. That's the gym of life. Here we go. You can feel free to do what I'm doing, or again, if you want to decide to do something else, something that you want to improve on from last time, an exercise, whatever it is, keep doing it, keep going, do your best, try to do a little bit better than last time. That's your determination. You get to use it wherever you go, wherever you are. You get to determine, you get to win, make the winning, accurate, kind, peaceful, loving, positive choice to keep going, to keep finding out how unlimited you really are. I'm just trying to hold my my body in a plank position with my one elbow down, other arm on the side of my body, and I'm trying to make sure that I'm lifted off the ground. The other side too. That'll be my exercise for today. How about you? Keep going, whatever you're doing. You're dancing, you're doing jumping jacks, doing push-ups, sit-ups, squats, whatever it is, keep going. Alright, other side now. Try to hold it for the duration of the song. If not, I'm gonna keep going. Even if I fall down, alright, stop. Get right back up and keep going. Always do my best, always seeking and striving for my best, for our best. The more I do my best, the more I believe others around want to do their best. And that goes for you. That's how powerful we are. You doing your best right now, wherever you are, whatever exercise you're doing, that's the same process that other people can be inspired by. It's really simple. Just live. Be your best. Be your true being. Don't let negativity, don't let fear, don't let the pain, the discomfort stop you forever. Keep going. Find out your pure joy, your happiness. All through your body and your mind, together as one. Song's not over. Gotta get back up, gotta keep going. Let's go to the other side. You too, keep going until the music stops. Don't stop, keep going. Alright, excellent job.
I'm gonna take my horse to the old town road. I'm gonna ride till I can't no more. I'm gonna take my horse to the old town road. I'm gonna ride till I can't no more.
I got the horses in the back, horse stock is attached. Head is matted black, got the bushes black to match. Riding on a horse, ha, you can whip your Porsche. I've been in the valley, you ain't been up off that porch. Now, can't nobody tell me nothing. You can't tell me nothing. Can't nobody tell me nothing. You can't tell me nothing. Riding on a tractor, lean all in my bladder. Cheated on my baby, you can go and ask her. My life is a movie, but riding them. Cowboy hat from Gucci, Wrangler on my. Can't nobody tell me nothing. You can't tell me nothing. Can't nobody tell me nothing. You can't tell me nothing.
Yeah, I'm gonna take my horse to the old town road. I'm gonna ride till I can't no more. I'm gonna take my horse to the old town road. I'm gonna ride till I can't no more. Hat down, cross town, living like a rock star. Spend a lot of money on my brand new guitar. Baby's got a habit, diamond rings and Fendi sports bras. Riding down Rodeo in my Maserati sports car. Got no stress, I've been through all that. I'm like a Marlboro man, so I keep going back. Wish I could roll on back to that old town road. I wanna ride till I can't no more. I'm gonna take my horse to the old town road. I'm gonna ride till I can't no more. I'm gonna take my horse to the old town road. I'm gonna ride till I can't.
Back healer from Sergio Roberto, Leo Messi!
Good morning, guys. I'm going to share another story from Les Brown, one of my favorites. This guy is awesome. I want to share a story when he talks about being hungry. So being hungry for me, it's determination. I love this stuff. This is my core. I'm hungry to be the best human being I can be. Well, Les talks about a story when he wanted to become a disc jockey, and he would be like a lion. He'd be waiting, watching. There was this one guy one time, and he wanted his job as a disc jockey. And this gentleman, for whatever reason, was having a rough night. He had, I guess, had a little bit too much in terms of enjoying his recreational activities. Let's just say that. So as Les watched him, and when that guy could no longer continue, Les was ready. He was ready to pounce. And I remember him saying, "Drink, rock, drink. Drink, rock, drink." In other words, go ahead, lose your opportunity. I'm ready to take it. So I hope this helps. Have a good laugh from Les. And remember, stay hungry.
I just want to know exactly what you mean by mollycoddling.
What I see, and I'm talking about people that I know and people that will speak to me, is that anyone who had a tough childhood are then trying to create a scenario for their child where that child experiences no pain.
They no longer respond to the child needs. They're coming from their own anxieties.
Yes.
So mollycoddling has got nothing to do with the child. It has to do with the anxieties of the parents. That kid is going to download the anxieties of the parents. So mollycoddle kids become very anxious and very scared and very ungrounded in themselves. On the other hand, it's not possible to love kids too much. In fact, there's a very interesting study where they looked at a large number of mothers and their infants in the early few months. And most mothers in this study were seen as really good mothers. And some were a bit distant and because of their own traumas, not as available. And a small group were seen as like super loving in how they doted over their infants. Okay? 30 years later, they looked at these infants now as adults. The ones that were most emotionally grounded and healthy were the ones who received the super loving. So there's a difference between, you can't love a child too much. What you can, so the mollycoddling that you describe, it's not a child being loved too much. It's a child who has to endure the anxieties of the parents. And there's a very famous example in world history of someone whose parents wanted to protect him from suffering was the Buddha. He never saw death, he never saw illness, he never saw old age until he goes out and sees a dying person, sees a very poor person, a very ill person, a very old person. He realizes there's suffering in the world. So all the mollycoddling he received could not ultimately protect him from the awareness of pain and vulnerability. Although, if I talk about the Buddha, I also have to say that his own trauma is often not talked about because his mother died when he was a week old, or right after birth, didn't she? So even they tried to protect him, they couldn't. But so anyway, mollycoddling has got nothing to do with the needs of the child.
Yeah, that's a great differentiator.
It has to do with the unmet needs of the parents. And as soon as parents project their needs onto the child, they no longer see the child as they exist. They see their own anxieties, their fears, and their own fantasies. Naturally, that's going to hurt the child.
Yeah, that's such a great differentiator. That's, again, it's a trauma response.
It's a trauma response.
Yeah, it's a trauma response. How and when should children, young adults be exposed to pain in order to develop their vulnerability? Like, as you said, the capacity to experience a wound. Like, how and when do we allow ourselves? How should we? What environment is required to allow ourselves to experience pain in a healthy way? Or is it just going to come anyway?
It's the nature of life. There's no reason to deliberately expose children to pain because they're going to experience it. The question is, how do we support them when they do? You know why? Because their puppy's going to die. Because grandfather's going to die. Because some neighborhood friend won't want to play with them. Because they're not going to get the toy they wanted. Because some disappointment will happen. So pain is inevitable. But it doesn't have to become traumatic if the child is supported in experiencing the pain and moving past it. So we don't have to impose or bring pain into kids' life to train them. Life's going to do that. The question is, how are we to interact with them while they're enduring the pain?
Yeah, and what would you say those are? Obviously, there's the love part, which you spoke about, but when a child is going through something like that, so let's talk about loss, because I think that's a big one, right? Like whether it's losing a parent or losing a puppy, as you said, or even if it's not losing a parent to death, it's losing a parent to a divorce. It's,
for example,
correct, yeah. So grief and loss doesn't have to mean end of life. It can be everything.
Exactly.
Or a loss of a country. What are the steps that someone should take in order to helps guide through anyone through loss, not just a child?
Well, interestingly enough, when I spoke about these brain circuits that we share with other mammals for play and for loving and seeking, we also have a brain circuit for panic and grief. Why do we have that? Because life brings loss. And so grief is essential for life, because grief is coming to terms with the fact that something is gone, is not going to come back. So when a child experiences grief, and I said that the need of the child is to be able to experience all the emotions. They need to be able to experience the grief as well.
Mm.
And it doesn't matter whether from adult eyes we see that loss as major or minor. It's a question of how is the child experiencing it. And for a small child, even what looks like small losses can be very painful.
Mm-hmm.
Well, then we don't make the child wrong for it. We don't say, get over it, there's nothing wrong. Think of all the other children who are suffering, all that kind of relativistic, shaming stuff. We say, oh, it really hurts, doesn't it? You really wish grandpa would be here with you. You really wish mom and dad weren't leaving each other. It hurts. In other words, you just validate their emotions. By doing so, you help them accept the loss, and you help them move through, and you help them learn that they can endure difficult emotions without having to become falling to pieces. So we have a circuitry for grief in our brain, for grief in our brains. It needs to be allowed to do its work.
I find that a lot of us today are reflecting on that inner child, right? Like that language is, again, more widespread today, or is growing. The idea of like, oh, we have this inner child who has this wound or this trauma. what do you find is the difference between analyzing and overanalyzing, or thinking and overthinking these experiences, and how would you define the difference? Because and I'm being very honest and vulnerable because it's the only way to have this conversation, really. Like, I often think about events in my life that happened that would be considered generally as either difficult experiences or as traumatic, right? They could be seen as either or. There are some of them that I've worked through myself, or with people that I trust, or with guides, and obviously through my monk life. There were things that I looked at and worked on. There are certain things that I don't feel a need, like I don't feel a desire to dive into. The question I'm asking is, should I dive into them, or is that considered overanalyzing and overthinking? And I ask that for everyone else who's listening to this, going, gosh, if I thought about everything that happened to me, I could be there for a while. What's your take on that?
Well, first of all, in my world, there's no shoulds, okay?
There are no
shoulds.
There's no shoulds, yeah.
So I would never say to anybody, you should, because that itself is intrusive. So the question is whether it's helpful or not to delve into the past depends on what's happening with that individual. And if some of the effects of trauma, as we said earlier, is that the wounds of the past keep showing up in the present. So from my point of view, it's not so much about delving into the past and dwelling on the past, but on dealing with how the past is showing up in the present. What a psychologist friend of mine, Peter Levine, calls the tyranny of the past, where the past dominates my present reactions. It doesn't matter how many times I go back and think about my childhood story, that's not going to help me. What I have to deal with is what's happening to me right now at this very second, which is a shadow of the past. So thinking about it is not going to be of much help. What's going to help is to deal with the emotions that are arising now as a result of what happened, and how those emotions affect my life in the present moment. So it's not about the past, it's about the present.
Yeah, so it's really about the choices we have now.
Exactly, what's available to us now.
Yeah, what's available to us now, because I feel like we didn't have a choice in the past because we were either too young or too incapable of making a choice.
Exactly.
But the choices that happen right now can transform everything.
It is possible. Some people do make themselves into victims. They kind of identify with the victim role. All this stuff happened to me, and therefore I cannot do such and such, or I'm hurt and I'll never get over it. It's possible to identify with the victim role. It's even possible to identify with the survivor role. I'm a survivor. Well, no, that's not who you are. You survived, but who you are is much greater than that particular experience, and who you are is also always much greater than your suffering.
Yeah.
And so it is possible for some people to identify with the suffering in the past to such a degree that they stop moving forward.
Yes. I think you've just raised a really important component of all of this on a deeper level, is that what we identify with, right? Even earlier, you were talking about people who would be raised in this hypothetical village we were talking about, but even through research, they won't identify with the values of a capitalist society.
Yeah.
Identification, you just said people could identify as a victim, they could identify as a survivor. What is a healthy identification?
There isn't one.
Right.
Because if you look at, again, the meaning of words, and I just find words fascinating.
Same, yeah, absolutely.
Identification comes from a Latin word, idem, which means the same, and facere, to make. As soon as I make myself the same as something, like if I identify with my role as a doctor, I immediately limit myself. If you identify with your experience as a monk, and I don't mean not to learn from it or to grow from it, but if you identify with it, that's what I am. You've now narrowed yourself. So there's no healthy identification. If I identify myself with a state or a nation, I could be loyal to that state or nation. I could love that state or nation or any group. But if you identify with it, such as you have no independent existence, you've limited yourself already.
let's bring it back. Let's connect our breathing to our body, to our mind, to our energy. To our energy of determination. That's right. We determine. We don't choose and lose, give up, believe lies, give in to fear. We don't do that. We don't give in to anxiety, stress, things that are not the truth of who we are. The way you did your best today, whatever exercises, stretches you chose to do, it's the same process you get to use here, now, wherever you go. In the gym of life, you get to grow your mind. You get to grow your mind health and your mind wealth. It's all possible if you determine, make the winning choice to be kind, to be peaceful, caring, loving, appreciative, grateful for everything you have here and now. I'm so grateful for my breath right now. I'm so grateful for you. I'm so grateful for our being, what we all truly are. I'm proud of my effort today, and I hope you are proud of yours. Because that effort, that process, that determination you use, it's available to you all the time. It's your greatest gift. So don't ever give up on using your determination to be your true, kind, positive, loving self. To control your own mind, no matter what is going on outside of it. You are infinitely intelligent, powerful beyond measure. And you get to work now more than ever. Your own mind, your own body, your own energy. Making yourself better now so that you can be better forever. I love you, everyone. Have a great week. Have a great day. Enjoy your life every moment, no matter what. We are united always. Love you guys.